Okay, we're going to be talking today about a topic that it seems to be unavoidable. I know sometimes it feels like I'm not the best person to talk about this because I always take a position that I think it puts me in a space where nobody's going to agree with me. So I'll explain what has happened in the UK in the past few weeks with regards to Jeremy Corbyn, the head of the Labour Party. Now, I've said before that I don't believe that Jeremy Corbyn, in his mind, is what you would call an anti-Semite, although I usually don't use the word anti-Semite anyway. I usually use the word anti-Jewish. So the reason I don't think he's an anti-Semite is because somebody with a worldview of the workers struggle and opposition to fascism and all the other stuff that the hard left Labour Party believes in. He doesn't look at his pro-Palestine activism or even his meeting with actual active terrorists and militants as being an expression of hatred towards Jews. He sees it as an expression of hatred towards Zionism as a distinct political philosophy. And I think, while I think it's kind of a stupid way of mindset or whatever, I think that that's really what's going on in the head of Jeremy Corbyn. And I think it was The Spectator, which is a British magazine, a very well written British magazine, although I'm not sure if I agree with their politics. I'm not very familiar with them. I think they said that if Jeremy Corbyn, they had a headline, if Jeremy Corbyn is not an anti-Semite, he is really, really unlucky. I think that was them. But we're not going to feature that. There's too much really to feature here because unfortunately I think that this story is getting overexposure. Yes, I said overexposure, and it might end up helping Jeremy Corbyn gain ground in the UK because his opponents are simply incompetent idiots. His political opponents, I mean. A lot of his activist opponents, the people that are opposing him, I think their strategy is ineffective too. So let me set this up. There's a certain person named Joseph Cohen who he's the leader of an organization that is pretty much, it's called the Israel Advocacy Movement. Okay, it's pretty upfront about being pro-Zionism. Obviously, Jeremy Corbyn is a very, very militant anti-Zionist. Okay, and I think everybody's clear on those issues. So what Joseph Cohen did was he went to a certain organized event on behalf of the Labour Party and started, well, he went and attempted to enter clad in the Israeli flag, which is not an illegal act. They refused him entry, and you'll see what happens. So we'll play some of the video. I don't want to play the entire video. The video is in the chat, is in the description. Sorry, if anybody wants to dispute what I'm saying. Well, the whole video is in the description. I don't know if he published a long form video of the entire event. He published a long form video of one of the incidents that happened with a woman. I think if Joseph Cohen wants to make his case even stronger, he should feature a lot more of the other footage. Because I think, and I'll get to my own personal history with Cohen a little later. And it's not as if we're friends at all. But here you can see the rally itself. Sorry, that's not the video I'm trying to show. That would be the next one. I think I have the wrong one. Hold on. Sorry about that. This will take a second. In the meantime, you can watch that one long interaction, I guess.
Me tonight outside here.
Sow.
No.
If you walk around,
are you excusing anti-Semitism
no.
in any
What
way?
I'm saying is, if you walk around expecting to be treated like Jewish scum, that's what's going to happen to you.
I don't ever expect to be treated as Jewish on the streets of London.
Excuse me, get your hands off
You
me.
just attacked him.
No, I took his phone because he does not have my permission.
That is attacking
He
him.
does not have my
I am
permission.
making a barrier because you just went for him physically.
I went
You
for
went
his
him
phone
physically.
to block
and I
his
am
phone
making a
because
barrier
I
on
have
the
not
streets of
given
London. You are
I
you
have
don't
not
have to.
given
Get
him
off the streets of
permission.
London. Get off the streets of
I could say
London.
the same to
Because
you.
you
You're
are
paranoid.
allowed. You are allowed
You
to
are
film on the
paranoid.
streets of London.
Yeah, it's hard to deal with this buffering again, but we might have to just power through it.
You are the one that is inciting hate.
You are paranoia.
Ridiculous.
Paranoia.
Don't waste
Paranoia.
I'm
Mandy.
Paranoia.
Paranoia. He does not.
Again, it's really difficult to get. I don't know what's wrong with YouTube nowadays, that maybe a few months ago this really wouldn't happen.
You are the one that is inciting hate.
You are paranoia.
Paranoia.
He does not have my permission to film me.
He doesn't need your permission.
I didn't see what happened. Oh yes, he does.
He doesn't.
Oh yes, he does.
I just showed you what happened. I showed you on the video.
Yes, but that doesn't tell me anything.
It tells you that a fully grown man put a woman in a headlock. What more do you need to know?
And you refused
From
to say
where?
that was anti-Semitic.
You from where?
That was here
But
on the
how
table
do I
just
possibly
outside.
know that?
I just
And
asked
what
you
were
if
you
that
doing
signal
here?
was
What were you
It was a
doing
meeting
here?
about anti-Semitism. I have suffered from anti-Semitism, and from
So that's one of the more that's one of the longer interactions that he features. Here's the general video.
Your bearded face, and you're a fucking
So now
liar.
you're
You're a
threatening
fucking
me. You're
viper.
threatening-
No, I said you're a coward.
you're
How is that a threat? How is it a threat to say that you're a coward? You're a viper. You're a lecherous, satanic piece of shit.
Okay, so last night, and myself and a number of Jews tried to attend an
So this is Joseph Cohen, and it's almost impossible to miss him on the street because he's a ginger beard. And I have a lot of friends who are gingers, so I'm not going to attack them. But I do find gingers funny looking. But nothing against him in terms of that. But here he goes.
an event called Corbyn, Anti-Semitism and Justice for Palestine. We were refused entry, we believe, because we were Jewish. I was visibly Jewish, wearing a kippah and tzitzit, the strings that Jews traditionally wear. And they wouldn't allow us into the event, so we decided to stick around and film the people that were there.
Excuse me, sir. You will not be allowed to come in. Thank you.
Can I ask why?
Because you've been disrupted before.
I've never been disrupted in any event in my life.
We
It's-
reserve the right to refuse entry to
Because
people
is this
to our
because I'm
meeting.
Jewish?
It's because you've disrupted meetings
I've never
previously,
disrupted a meeting in
and
my
you
life.
will and we expect you to disrespect the chair. We would
I've
like the
never-
meeting to go ahead safely
I've never
and securely.
disrupted a meeting in my life.
Well, I'm sorry. We
I-
think that you will.
it's-
Okay, so rather than just go
Okay, so they refuse entry to him, and I don't know if membership is required at these events, because I don't believe in belonging to political parties. I think that they're garbage organizations. Might as well lump the Labour Party in with them, because I'm not British, as you can probably tell. Even though I of course enjoy listen to the Who. The Who loves tennis. And Bob O'Reilly and all, I listen to a lot of Oasis and all that. I love the British people. I think they hate themselves. That's the problem. But here we go.
go home because we trekked all the way into London, a few of us decided to stick around and speak to the people that were attending the event to get their thoughts on anti-Semitism. Now, this next bloke, I'm going to call him Father Christmas for obvious reasons. He was handing out some very controversial...
Over in England, they call Santa Claus Father Christmas. I don't know why.
booklets.
Do you not think that's a bit offensive to Jews?
No, I'm Jewish myself.
It doesn't matter whether you're Jewish or not. There were Jews that killed Jews in the Inquisition. There were Jews that killed Jews in the Holocaust. Your Jewish lineage doesn't mean that that's not anti-Semitic.
There were
I think that's a fair point. I don't know if you... I mean... I think you could take it both ways, but I think Cohen does make a good point there.
Jews who, by virtue of being Zionists, killed very many Jews.
So can I ask you, do you not think it's insensitive for Jews that have lost family in the Holocaust to create a logo like that, taking a Jewish symbol
No, I don't.
and putting a swastika in?
No, I don't. I think it's an accurate description. Give me that back, please.
Can I have my shoe? Can I have my shoe?
I have nothing to do with your shoe.
Can I
Give
have
me
my
that
shoe,
back.
please?
Give me that back. Give me that back. No, I didn't. You stole it.
Yep, that's Father Christmas putting a Jewish lady in a headlock.
Don't touch me!
What are you doing?
You're high, yeah? The Kabbalah put two fingers up you, yeah? You fucking scumbag. You're a fucking liar, a Satanist, and you know that Islam, Christianity, and Judaism are the same fucking thing, and you're a liar.
What's
you're a
Kabbalah?
scumbag. You're a scumbag.
What's Kabbalah?
Yeah. What is that? What is it?
You tell me, you're the one who's just...
I'm gonna do an emoji. Yeah, die slow. You're a liar. I've seen you before.
Well, he seems to know what he's talking about.
I don't bow to Zionists and imperialists.
So I want to rewind to that guy. So if anybody wants to talk about what's the difference between being anti-Zionist and anti-Semitic, if you want to attack Kabbalah, Kabbalah has literally nothing to do with Zionism. Kabbalah, again, I'm not looking at anybody in the chat today, so if anybody's like freaking out or something, I don't give a fuck because we're trying to get through some shit today. So I don't even see the chat. But Kabbalah is the hidden mystical aspect of the Bible, or the Torah, more specifically, the Hebrew Bible. And the Kabbalah has literally nothing to do with Zionism. The Kabbalah is basically the elements that are encoded within the Torah. They were, I believe most of Kabbalah was developed by Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai the Rashbi, who was early, I don't even remember what century he lived in. It must have been the 2nd century AD. And the Rashbi basically was a fugitive from Roman persecution. Okay, he was one of the few rabbis who escaped the Roman persecution of that. This was after, I believe, the time of Jesus, by the way. I think it was 100 years later. And essentially, it literally has nothing to do with modern Zionism. Modern Zionism is a political movement to return the Jews to the land of Israel. Kabbalah does not have to do directly with that. It's something that is essentially acknowledged by Jews of a lot of different denominations. Even some of the more liberal denominations, for some reason, have a little bit of a fixation on aspects of Kabbalah. I have not studied Kabbalah. To go and attack somebody based on Kabbalah has nothing. You can't claim then that you're being anti-Zionist because it's not a related topic. So this person who appears to be some sort of radical atheist who attacks both Judaism and the other two Abrahamic faiths, Islam and Christianity, by labor's standards, he shouldn't be in the party because they also are against against religious bigotry, especially when it concerns Islam and Christianity. And Labor does have a massive Islamic contingency within it. So let's keep going.
What is that? What is it?
You tell me, you're the one who's just...
I'm gonna do an emoji. Yeah, die slow. You're a liar. I've seen you before.
Well, he seems to know what he's talking about.
I don't bow to Zionists and imperialists. You're an idiot. I don't bite to them. You're right. I don't bite to them. Never in my life.
I fucking agree with you. Absolutely. I'm not part of the security team. I agree with him.
So you have the guy who was called Santa Claus earlier, virtue signaling to the black guy, who sounds to me like a West Indian or whatever. So this is the type of crowd attracted to a pro-Corbyn rally. I don't believe Corbyn was there, according to what I saw from the footage or any of the reports on this. But it's it's basically people who, they do believe in a number of anti-Jewish beliefs. So here we go.
Them man, they align with the apartheid. This man, they align with the apartheid regime, Apartheid regime. Every oppressive regime the Zionist has been linked to when you're calling Jeremy Corbyn anti-Semitic.
We're calling you anti-Semitic, sir. You literally said every apartheid regime the Zionists have been linked to.
There is no Jewish people.
Wait, what?
I'm Jewish myself.
Thought so.
There is no Jewish people. There is no, don't tell me what to do. There is no Jewish people. The Jewish people do not exist.
Okay, so I know I don't do this myself because I'm not an activist, but word of advice to Joseph Cohen: don't bring, shrill-voiced menopausal women to be your support group. You should bring calm people who don't sound like fucking Joy Behar, because it sounds very irritating. Doesn't matter what side you're on. The woman who's with him sounds incredibly irritating.
Have a homeland. Like concern is anti-Nazism, but it's
Yeah, you're the guy who supports Hezbollah.
Yes, I do, yeah. And Hamas. So this is the face of someone that supports Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah? Yeah?
it's absolutely...
Yeah, I'm bored of it. He's already said he supports Hamas and Hezbollah. I support Nasrallah, I support Hezbollah.
And here's a woman saying Jews love money.
Unless you're in the pay of the Israelis, grow up.
So that kid that was in the previous photo, or in the passage, if you look at his shirt, that's a pink triangle. So this homosexual supporter is supporting a government that hates homosexuals, okay? And I personally, this is just me personally, I don't care about that. I mean, that's really their problem. I've never been for or against. I've actually probably never been for gay rights. I'd probably say that, I think people should mind their own business. And that's about the extent of it. But these parades and whatever, fuck the parades. There's no parade for people who, they get a parade for what? I don't know. So they get a parade. Would that parade be able to go through Beirut? I don't think so. I think this guy might want to check on that. And I think this whole idea of pitching Israel as a country where gay rights is respected has been a failure because people don't care. Ultimately, the gay community has no principles because they'll support stuff that has nothing to do with gay rights. They're basically, and I've heard from people who are, we'll get to my articles soon, the stuff I've written on a similar topic. We might have to do 2 videos. But in any case, or maybe break this one up. But look what I'm trying to say here. You depend on these people who have progressive values by marketing yourself to them, but they don't actually have any values. Their values are always drifting further and further to a place that nobody knows where it is. There's no anchor to it. So why even market Israel for its gay rights, liberties, or whatever? I think personally, why should anybody even care? It's supposedly, you can't in the same breath call it the Holy Land and then market it to people who are basically anti-religion. Okay, I think it's a huge contradiction, and that's why I don't support movements like that. I don't support progressive Zionism at all. I don't support political Zionism in general, but you know, there's aspects of it that I have less of a problem with. You know, I would say that as a political movement, Zionism doesn't mean anything anymore because of efforts to market the country to idiots like this, who obviously they lack even the self-awareness to appreciate what how they're just a walking contradiction. Look at his face. Look at the face of this little fucking weirdo. And Joseph Cohen, I think Joseph Cohen did a good job at least highlighting him. And again, I will get to my criticism of Joseph Cohen. I think at this point, I would say he's doing a great job.
Yes, I do. Yeah. And Hamas. So this is the face of someone.
Oh fuck. Guess we're gonna have to do another. Here we go.
Face of someone that supports Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah. Yeah?
No, it's absolutely.
I'm bored of it. He's already said he supports Hamas and Hezbollah. I support Nasrallah, I support Hezbollah.
And here's a woman saying Jews love money.
Unless you're in the pay of the Israelis, grow up.
Trying like a 10-year-old.
Unless you're in the pay of the Israelis.
You're behaving like a 10-year-old with your legal expression on your face. Use your logic and your analytical brain when you're thinking about politics. Have a good look at also think of the dollar. She's clicking her fingers at me now. Think of the dollar. That's all you care about is the dollar, isn't it? Not an anti-Semitic. Isn't it? With your silver. You like silver, you like gold. What do you like? She's talking about money to me now. Yeah, that's all you care about.
Tommy Robinson lover.
Yeah, so these people, and this guy's a real chucklehead too, but these people, they want to claim that there is no anti-Jewish issue within the Labour Party. I think Cohen makes a compelling case there's no way to deny it from a video like this where there's a guy insulting the Jewish religion directly by talking about Kabbalah. Now, I'm a freedom of speech absolutist. So even though I am Jewish, and I can't claim to take offense to something like that because I don't believe that offensive speech should be banned. But I want to say something about that. The Labour Party, which is all about inclusion and about against intolerance, these people, that was a woman making this reference to Jews loving money. Okay, so then stop saying that you don't think that anti-Semitism is okay, because that is a belief, that is probably the key belief system of people who think disparagingly of Jews, the people that are called anti-Semites or anti-Jewish or whatever. I see here the Real News. I don't even know if I'm going to cover this, so I might just say it's a wash because I'm tired. There's only so much time I can dedicate to it. So I mean, if they want to give their opinion that anti-Semitism should include prejudice against Palestinians, they should remember that anti-Semitism is a word that was created in Germany in the 19th century just as a way of intellectualizing hatred of Jews. It has nothing to do with the idea of a Semitic race. So, yeah, that woman, that was not anti-Zionism you saw, because if you're talking to people and you're saying, and they identify as Jews, and you're saying, well, all you care about is money, what does that have to do with Zionism? Because there's plenty of Jews outside of who have nothing to do with Zionism who get accused of that all the time. So it's really, to me, look, these people can say whatever they want. And if they were in the United States, I would say the First Amendment covers everything that they say. Obviously, this is Britain, where you get thrown in jail for covering a fucking trial, which we're going to get to in a second. You see this guy. So, let's rewind.
Yeah, that's all you care about.
I get you in.
Tommy Robinson lover. Tommy, put that on a thing and get your Nazi friends.
This is the type of abuse
Robinson
Jews
lover.
receive. This is the type of abuse Jews receive.
Nazi
Why am I a Tommy Robinson lover?
Nazi lover.
How?
And Donald Trump as well, eh?
Why am I?
And you like the white nationalist.
How am I
You like white nationalists?
White nationalists killed Jews in the Holocaust.
White
What are you talking about?
You love the Ku Klux Klan.
Sorry, I just suggest, because they're filming you.
Ku Klux Klan.
No, just filming you and going to edit it. Just calm down.
We don't need to edit it.
Ku Klux Klan lover.
Me tonight as
Okay, so that guy was clearly he has his head up his ass. Although, I mean, maybe people don't know this, but I'll fill you in. Okay, so Joseph Cohen has been going to rallies all around the UK. He goes to Speaker's Corner as well, and he films a lot of these events that have been happening. Of course, the UK is in a lot of turmoil, especially given the freedom of speech infringements that go on over there. But he's always been, this is something I've criticized him for, he's never backed up Tommy Robinson. I think it's a show of cowardice on his part, because Tommy Robinson is the only real activist in the UK right now trying to expose the rape of children by gangs of criminals. Okay, so Joseph Cohen, he thinks that the main issue for him, this is one of the, so you've probably seen, a few of you have probably seen a video where I call into Jamarl Thomas and give him shit about only caring about Palestine and not caring about Nicaragua, or not caring about what's happening in Pakistan or what happens in Bangladesh or any of those countries. That's me criticizing a guy on the left, a pro-Palestine guy. In forums, and he doesn't have a call-in show, so I can't do exactly the same thing with Joseph Cohen. But in especially on his Facebook pages, I've called him out directly, and I've said, you might think that Israel is the most important cause to you, but nobody else gives a shit, because they are being muzzled over in the UK. They're seeing these criminals sometimes walk free, and in many cases getting very light sentences for basically defiling young children sexually, literally. And they confess to it, and there's evidence. And there's evidence of it going on for decades. And yes, there's a religious element to it. So for him to claim that Tommy Robinson is not as big of an issue as his Israel advocacy movement is pure myopic nonsense. The man has to get a grip. So I've criticized Joseph Cohen about this several times, and I don't think he's going to reply because he thinks I'm some sort of shrimp. My voice he doesn't care what I think anyway. Right? So I don't care. Like, it should be vice versa, but I think that this is at least he's doing a good job here of exposing what's going on. But yeah, that guy doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, because Joseph Cohen, if anything, fails to support Tommy Robinson, who in my opinion is a much more effective activist. And I personally support Tommy Robinson 100%, 1,000%, 1,000,000%. I think he's a fantastic person. Probably a couple issues, like I don't know his economic policies, because that's not really his focus. But let's keep going. I think we saw most of this, but let's see what happens.
Here. No.
If you walk around,
excusing anti-Semitism in any
what
way.
I'm saying is, if you walk around expecting to be treated like Jewish scum, that's what's going to happen to you.
I don't ever expect to be treated as Jewish on the streets of London.
Excuse me, get your hands off
You
me.
just attacked him.
No.
So this is the second instance of somebody like actually physically. They're accosted several times, but this is the second instance of physical assault. So again, like I'll criticize Joseph Cohen all the time for his focus and his lack of support for Tommy Robinson, who, you know, but that's his choice. I'll still criticize Joseph Cohen for him. I think he has the right to choose who he supports or not. I still think he's fucking wrong and he's out of his goddamn mind. That being said, you shouldn't assault him on the street for filming you. This is a public place.
I took his phone because he does not have my permission. He does not have my permission.
I am making a barrier because you just went for him physically.
I went for his phone to block
and I
his
am
phone
making a
because
barrier
I
on
have
the
not
streets of
given
London. You
have not given him.
That's not the law, bitch. He can film you all the fuck he wants.
Get off the streets of London. Get off the streets of London.
I could say the same to you.
Because
You're all paranoid.
You are allowed to film on the streets of London. You are the one that is inciting hate.
You are paranoia.
Don't waste your energy.
Paranoia.
Mandy.
Yeah, so this was a pretty dumb argument, and he has and by the way, I can't emphasize enough, if you bring middle-aged, screeching women to a rally and they're fighting with the other person's menopausal, screeching women, there's only so much I can listen to before I say, fuck this. You know, I might as well watch The View if I want to see this garbage. And he probably lives in Britain, so he doesn't know what the View is. This is bullshit. You know, these people are. Let me see if there's any other. I mean, they just go back and look at this woman. They focus in on her because I think they had the longest interaction with her. Let's look at some of the comments here. I think the comments will illustrate. So it'll be kind of illustrative of what's going on. So I don't see that many from the other side. That's interesting. Yeah, that's enough about this. Somebody says you publish this the day before Israel announces it will build a further 1,000 West Bank settlement homes. Well, that's not the issue discussed in the video, buddy. Why does Kabbalah have to do with that? Why do they have to insult Kabbalah? So I don't know what the hell this is going on. Yeah, so that was his video. Now, I'll tell you why I don't necessarily support Joseph Cohen full stop. Because the fact is that I think that there's a number of issues here. So I think it's what's the woman's name? So this is Fander Films is arguing, so Lizzie Schofield, so I'll look up.
By their words and by their actions. And today I'm going to give a few examples which you can check yourself online of precisely such nefarious activities. Also, we're going to talk about Lizzie's article on the hijab, and I've listened to her discussion with Jay Smith. I think that was here, was it last week or the week before last? I watched that on YouTube carefully, and it's full of lies and slander against the distinguished companions of the Prophet, particularly Umar. And it also misrepresents how Muslims understand our faith in the round. So I'll just go ahead here. First and foremost, I want to This is factually a Smith himself particularly sounds like a paranoid, self-radicalized cult leader. He's even gone so far, and I heard this to myself a few weeks ago, from this very ladder, saying to Muslims that you are meant to kill me, Jay Smith, and kill all Christians. This is what Jay Smith claims. And he adds that this is what the Quran teaches in Surah 9:5, which is just silly rubbish, as any Muslim will tell you. Now, how can Jay Smith not be contributing to Islamophobia? He demonizes every Muslim as somebody to fear. This sets panic and fear in the wider population, which in turn is the ignition for hatred of Muslims. Now, at this point, I'd like to refer people to an article on my blog, Blogging Theology, Google Blogging Theology, entitled Paul Williams and Lizzie Schofield Debate, a few possible discussion points. In there, you'll see videos of Jay Smith and others. In one video, James, as I've said, Jay already claims we must kill all Christians. In another video, he talks in crude racist stereotypes about Muslims. Go on my blog and see the video evidence. Jay Smith reviles people up via provocative video discussions, such as, why do Europeans not want any more Muslims? So much so that his viewers leave hate comments like this: I want Europe to kick out all Muslims. We either clear them out now by repatriation, or we wait and then have to kill them ourselves in the streets. And that is timestamp 2.05. Jay Smith has some very famous and notorious racist friends. One of them, who he calls friends of ours, confronting Islam, his words, is the far-right politician Geert Wilders. Geert Wilders has encouraged his supporters to chant racist slogans against Moroccans and other Muslims, and he was recently found guilty in Holland of inciting discrimination.
One second. Yeah, now I just had to unhit the mute. So this is a person, his name is Paul Williams. And you heard his voice the whole time. And this guy will just go on and on and on and on and on and on and won't shut the fuck up. He won't shut the fuck up about how Muslims are being attacked and discriminated against in the UK. And I personally had an argument, a huge argument with Joseph Cohen, who is a friend of Paul Williams and is always buddying up with him. And this guy has to grow a pair of balls. Okay, I'm talking about Joseph Cohen. Because you can't, on the one hand, complain and won't shut up about how the Labour Party is anti-Semitic. And then you support this idiot who constantly complains about, oh, you can't, oh, here we go. It should be Nike hijab. So, Lizzie Schofield. So this is the article that he wanted. Let me see here. That he was so pissed off about. I don't see where he hosts the article. So I don't know why he's so pissed off. Here we go. I think it's this one. Did they have to take it off? Oh my God. What the hell? Is this, did they make her take off this article? So, I think that's why I couldn't find it. They must have taken it down because maybe some sort of legal action or something. We're gonna have to. This is the memory hole of the UK. So let me see here. I don't know why all the results are in Russian. Переводчик. I don't know. So. Yeah, I don't know. It's gone. That is creepy. So essentially, this is the reason why this guy basically had a fucking period, PMS meltdown over her complaining about Nike having a sports hijab. And for any of you that don't know, women in traditional Islam are not supposed to become athletes outside of the home. Look, it's well known that the Olympic fencer, is it fencer, whoever engages in fencing, but the Olympic fencer, Ibtihaj Muhammad here in the U.S., one of the reasons that she became a fencer is because it would allow her to wear a full beekeeper outfit like she normally would. And for those of you that are saying I'm anti-Islam, it's not me that's anti-Islam here. I'm just saying she should be able to say whatever the hell she wants. And he should shut the fuck up and maybe talk about something that matters. And which one of these people is Joseph Cohen friends with? With him. This bitch.
Over comments that were demeaning towards the Moroccan population. Geert Wilders wants to ban the Quran in Holland and has said he wants Muslims to leave Europe. This is a good friend of Jay Smith and they do the same work according to Jay Smith. And moving on to Lizzie, this is how she talks to Muslims. She said recently, there is no sense in Islam that men have to exercise any self-control. So that many, many times. So we'll come to that in a moment on her discussion about the hijab. On another
that's the way it is in Muslim countries. If you there's nothing that she's now. Granted, she is a wacko, hardcore evangelical that puts. We have Alex on this show once in a while. She puts him to shame. She's basically but I think she does. She makes better arguments than he does. Her arguments are more based in scripture than they are in thinking that the Republican Party is the beacon of Christ or something like Alex does. And I'm openly laughing at him because that's what he thinks. So in any case, I don't know if you guys know who Alex is. Let me see if there's even anybody here. Did you guys even get the notification? 1 second. I will check the chat just to see if people got the notification. So oh, there's some people here. Got Ryu Shiska. What's up, dude? How you doing? Exactly. That's what I agree with. So yeah, it's only you three. What's up, Larry? Larry Gerke, the greatest.
Okay, she really asks a Muslim man if he has more than one wife. And then she says a Muslim man should be embarrassed. Okay. I haven't finished, by the way, but I'll let you carry on. After you.
Okay, I'd like to say good afternoon, everybody.
Let me see here.
He confronted me about my hijab article, and I'd just like to give you some quotes that he said about my hijab article. There are some quotes. You can check them on the YouTube video if you like. He said, it's full of anti-Muslim bigotry and hatred. He said, I belong to an extremist Christian group. It was full of the most appalling misrepresentation and lies about Muslims, that I was demonizing Muslims, my very first sentence talks about how evil Islam is. It was full of horrible stuff. It was a vile attack on Muslims, and it lies and lies and lies. If you don't believe me, you can just go and check on the video. And what's very interesting about what Paul has just done is that he hasn't actually mentioned that particular article at all.
I was about to.
And that is the reason that we're here. He's come up with lots of claims, which I'm not going to talk about here. I'm here to talk about my article, because it was very specifically that seemed to get him so incensed 2 weeks ago, and what he was interested in challenging me about. So I think, for the sake of fairness, what we're going to do is...
Yeah, so I'll put that video in the chat since it'll take too long to get through. I think it's like 45 minutes or something. Some of it is interesting, and some of it is not. Some of it is not. So Ryu, you just got the notification a couple minutes ago. So yeah, this is definitely YouTube being a bitch to me. Pinochet says he's anti-Islam. Look, I think you can be pro-Islam or you can be anti-Islam. I think you should be able to be either. So I think Pinochet is well within his rights. Paul Williams doesn't think so because he's a bitch. So, fuck that guy. And this is Joseph Cohen's friend, and then he wants to complain about anti-Semitism in the Labour Party when he's cavorting around with this retard who can't. It's a fucking article about the hijab. And then this is the problem, okay? You cannot complain about religious prejudice if you don't accept that there has to be room for criticism of religion. And that religion should include Islam, that religion should include Buddhism, that should include Judaism, that criticism should include Judaism, it should include Christianity. This woman isn't complaining about people criticizing Christianity, by the way. I think I'm not one of these people who thinks that there's a war on Christians to the degree that idiot Bill O'Reilly did. But at the same time, there are a lot of Christians who take complete and total. They take a lot of shit from people over nothing. Okay, I think that the best environment for the world is if people let it go and say we should be able to discuss religion openly and without fear of threats and violence or of speech policing like this bitch Paul Williams is doing. And I've argued with Paul Williams before too. One time during the I think it was during the World Cup, Joseph Cohen shared some post that was about how Muslims. It was about how Paul Williams is one of the greatest patriots he knows, and I was like, a patriot for who? Chechnya? And he got all bent. Both of them got bent out of shape. Or actually, no, Joseph Cohen got more bent out of shape than Paul Williams. I'll look for it. I'll probably post like a screenshot sometime. Maybe if I can. Well, I'd have to go back, but yeah. Joseph Cohen's like, whoa, why would you ever say that? I'm like, dude, it's like it's not like he's ever been not called that. And I live in America, so I don't have to abide by your bullshit British rules about caring about other people's feelings. Why should I care about Paul Williams' feelings? He doesn't even wear a hijab, and he's all bent out of shape about it. It's like, grow a dick, buddy. So, more to the point, I wrote an article over the weekend called "The Dershowitz Democrats Are Losing the Party to the Nakba Caucus," and that is in the description of the video, and you can read through it, and you can agree with it or you can disagree with it, take it or leave it. I think most of the people I know who have read the article are mostly of the same mindset, so I haven't heard anybody disagree with it yet because probably the people that have read it are of the same political bent. This isn't the Times of Israel. Those of you that say, "Oh, you're writing the Times of Israel, it must be some Zionist chill," you should look at the blogs in the Times of Israel. There's a lot of hardcore anti-Israel people in it. So, I mean, take my word for it. Skim through there. You can go through the blogs. If you click on the blogs headliner here, you see where my cursor is. You can find a number of people. The most famous of which is Sarah Tuttle Singer, who's like the editor of the whole thing, who's a tremendous leftist, tremendous sellout to the basically the hardcore communist agenda, the worldwide communist agenda. And I'll call her that. I'll call her a goddamn communist because what does she call other people? Occupiers or whatever. Look, you wanna throw names at people? I'll throw names at you too. Okay, I'm not going to tell. I'm not. Now people are saying there's a harassment campaign against her. Well, I'm not going to harass her, but I will call her a goddamn communist piece of filth, and I don't care anymore. So that's what I have to say about the person who edits the blog section of this newspaper, who is really she's really like a joke of a person. Then she wants to complain, oh, they're silencing me. Well, you edit the fucking blog section, so shut the fuck up already. Nobody's silencing you. So I wrote because the previous article that I'd written on this blog had gotten a fair amount of shares, and I do want people to share my article because this is probably the best. YouTube is not going to be the way I can share any ideas. The ideas are more important than me. If I can get some ideas through, it's probably a bigger deal than people knowing who I am. And unfortunately, YouTube is not a good way of doing it. But the Nakba Caucus, let me explain for those of you that don't know. Nakba is the name by the Palestinians for the Israeli Day of Independence and the Independence War. And Nakba means catastrophe in Arabic. And essentially, that's the way they define everything that has to do with Israel, as if it is the biggest disaster in world history. Even if you look at the metrics, there are less deaths from the Israeli-Palestinian conflict than from some conflicts in Central America in the past. Such as I think the civil war in El Salvador, I believe, had more deaths than there was directly from the Israeli-Palestine conflict. Now, if you go by the left-wing view of the world, they believe literally every other conflict in the world is caused by Zionism. So I can't. My metrics don't work with that logic. So there's nothing I can do about that. So, I'm a person. I don't follow the whole pro-Israel AIPAC bullshit. I think AIPAC is an organization I've refused. I've basically refused an offer from somebody to engage in a program through AIPAC to build advocates, because I said AIPAC is an organization whose goals I don't believe in, and their goals, it has nothing to do with, I support Israel because my family lives there, and I support it because I did serve there. I am not going to support literally every bullshit policy that they do. And the policy that I have the biggest problem with is accepting foreign aid. And I've said several times to people, okay, so this is to people verbally and in all sorts of forums, that I don't believe in foreign aid to any country anymore, especially not military aid. If countries want to buy our military hardware, they should just buy it straight up. We shouldn't give it to them with any of these phony baloney deals that basically are jerking off defense contractors. That's my opinion. I mean, you can take it and shove it if you don't like it, whether you're on the Palestine side or you're on the Israeli side. I don't care if people think that. And this is where I oppose Joseph Cohen. This is where I oppose a lot of the people like Alan Dershowitz on the pro-Israel side. And then you go to the pro-Palestine side, they'll still call me a Nazi or something. And I'm like, well, what do you want from me? Do you want me to basically tell my family to go die and get shot for being who they are? It's never going to happen. I'd rather, by the way, your family die than mine. I'll say that to anybody. I have cousins, and that for me, they're much more important than your family. So, that is the contingency there, okay? I find my family to be more important than somebody else's. I'll admit fully that is a selfish, self-interested position, and if you don't like it, okay, so then kill your family first. That's my position. Alan Dershowitz is basically what the remaining vestige of what I would call the traditional Democrats, and he's really fighting a losing battle within the party. And meanwhile, there's people within the party like Rashida Tlaib, or I think it might be pronounced Talib, although I don't know why it's spelled the way it is, because usually it would be Talib instead of Tlaib. But you have people like her, people like Keith Ellison. You have people like Ocasio-Cortez. You have people like Linda Sarsour, who's campaigning for these people. That is the face of the future of the Democratic Party. Now, I'm not going to tell people who to vote for. If you want to vote for these people, you can go right ahead. There's no, I personally wouldn't vote for them anyway, because they sound like complete idiots to me, except for Rashida Tlaib, who happens to have a very good way of explaining herself. I think personally she might be one of the more intelligent politicians out there. And that's coming from somebody who opposes her positions. She's for single payer. She's for, for all this stuff that's, she calls it the one-state solution, which would be basically forcing the Israelis to accept all of the families of the people who were either forced out or left in 1948, the Palestinian Arabs. So that is a solution she supports. Based on what need? Why would we need to do that? I mean, they lost all the wars, and they're not winning anything now. It's all based on this bizarre notion that your sense of social justice trumps reality. That's what these people want. So they make up this notion that this is the worst humanitarian crisis, going against any metric that you talk about. You have wars all over the world that are much worse than what's going there. I think the Mexican drug war has more casualties then the entire, and this is from 1948, the entire Arab-Israeli conflict, I believe, has well, no, maybe I'm exaggerating, but certainly in the past 20 years, the Mexican drug war has more casualties than the Israel-Palestine conflict. And those that want to argue with that, okay, send me the statistics. I'll prepare my statistics, and you'll prepare yours, and we'll see who comes out on top. So, but they think it's the biggest injustice in the world, and therefore they will say that it's incumbent on the United States and on the world to force a one-state solution. I say the opposite. I say, let's take our hands off of the region and let whatever happens happen. Well, and by the way, I think we can still sell weapons to these countries, whether it's Israel or Egypt, or I don't think we should sell weapons to Turkey, but there's probably people who say we should. I think Turkey is a disaster of a country, and pretty soon, they're going through this massive military economic meltdown. But yeah, the United States should be free to sell weapons to these countries, but we shouldn't get involved in these so-called peace processes and interventions and sending our troops to these countries and all of that. It should mainly, if anything, these countries should be paying the United States if they have advisors or whatever. If a country needs American advisors, they should be paying the American military on a fee schedule or something. It would basically become, hey, you want to go fuck people up and you need help? Pay us for some advice, and that's it. And by the way, I mean, there's plenty of private contractors that can do the same thing, but no, we shouldn't be intervening in any of these countries. And I don't think that that's a left-wing or a right-wing position. I think it's just a logical position based on the fact that our military budget is out of control. Our foreign aid budget doesn't really accomplish anything. So there's other issues within the Labor Party that I think parallel what's happened in the Democratic Party. And the point of my article in the TOI blogs was this: if you have such a problem with anti-Semitism, if you have such a problem with what's happening within the Democratic Party, you can leave, you can walk away, and then you can form your own group. You don't have to become a Republican, by the way, either. I've said to people, why have to choose between two bad choices? Larry, who I'm not looking at the chat, by the way, but Larry, one of the viewers of my channel, has said that, I think he said he left, since 1996 or something, or since Bush, he said he would never vote Republican again. And since 1980, he said he would never vote Democratic again. And I think you know what? Why argue with that? It's a perfectly logical argument. And most of the time, Larry makes sense, which is why he has a wrench now. Also because of his musical choice, musical taste. So you have these 5 rabbis that resigned from the Unite Union over Len McCluskey, who's the leader. And Unite is one of the larger British unions. It has 1.42 million members throughout the UK and Northern Ireland. And actually, no, the entire nation of Ireland. So this is a union that is the largest. Let's see here. I mean, they even have members in North America. So this guy, he basically he pitched a fit over these labor anti-Semitism allegations. So 5 rabbis have resigned their membership of Unite after the union's boss, Len McCluskey, issued what they call the threat to the Jewish community. West London synagogues Rabbi David Mitchell and Leo Beck College's Rabbi Deborah Kahn Harris were among those to issue an angry open letter to Unite's chief of staff saying McCluskey no longer represented them. The 5 rabbis said McCluskey had shown a slow recognition of the problem of anti-Semitism within the Labour Party and has usually done so in the context of a counterattack against critics of Jeremy Corbyn. Writing in HuffPost last week, the union boss accused the Jewish community of quote, not taking yes for an answer, and derided the truculent hostility of Jewish representatives in response to Labour's efforts to sort the problem. with the signatories, including Birmingham's Rabbi Dr. Margaret Jacobi. See, that's the first problem. You have a woman as the leader. I'm kidding, but yeah, maybe it is a problem. I mean, that's I really am kidding, but yeah, the stream of Judaism I believe in does not have women as rabbis, and I think it should stay that way given the level of success that they've had. These progressive streams of Judaism. By the way, if you're Catholic, if you're asking, a rabbi does not have to be celibate, so they can marry. So there's no issue with that. It's not like with the Catholicism where like, oh, well, why should women be priests? Well, why should men who don't have sex with women be priests? Why would you have like a large group of men who by actual rules they cannot interact sexually with women? Who would be drawn? I start to wonder what type of person would be drawn to a life like that. Could it be certain sexual deviants would be drawn to that? I don't know. Open question. Anybody in the chat can answer. Just my thoughts. So Bristol's Rabbi Monique Meyer, and Rabbi Richard Jacobi of East London and Essex Liberal Synagogue said his comments showed the union had lost control of its leadership. Well, I mean, my question to them would be, if it's so bad, how come first of all, why are these rabbis in unions? Because unions are supposed to be for people who have jobs that entail a lot of, you need collective bargaining in order to guarantee your rights. I personally am not pro-union at all, but, I guess you can't ban them because, at least here in the U.S., you shouldn't ban them because we have the right to assembly. I still think they suck. And that they're mostly full of corrupt, fat, disgusting people who don't do anything for the actual workers. They said McCluskey's comments were not only unhelpful, but are disingenuous. For in doing so, he attempts to rewrite the history of the last 6 months and plays down the genuine concerns of the overwhelming majority of the Jewish community. So let me tell those people something. He may be like an idiot, but his obligation is not to the Jewish community. His obligation is to the members of his union. And for you to now suddenly wake up to it, I mean, it means that you've basically been supporting this dickhead for all these years, and then suddenly you're like, oh, he changed colors on us. No, he's been this way the whole time. You just never manned up to it because first of all, because two of these people are women, and unfortunately. These people these are not leaders, okay? They're people. They're what I would call administrators. They're taskmasters. They're the type of, remember in the Bible, okay, this is not telling you to believe in the Bible if you don't. I'm just saying there's a metaphor. There were in Egypt when Moses was basically Moses was a fugitive, if you remember from the book of Exodus. There were a number of Jews that were trying to actively incite against him and say, oh, we're going to give you over to the Egyptians, Dathan and Abiram, the town of Abiram. So those two, if you look through the Bible, that's the type of people these leaders are. They go this whole time pretending, well, we need to have our finger in the pie in order to really succeed. No. Bake your own fucking pie and tell everybody else to fuck off. That's my advice. Okay, and I'm gonna expand on that too. So the Unite boss had used his article to call for Jewish community leaders to engage with labor before the political estrangement between them and the Labor Party becomes entrenched. But the rabbi said this, quote, feels a little too much like a threat. Now it feels like a threat. Responding to McCluskey's comments that he answers to those he represents, which is correct, the rabbi said, we realize that he no longer means us. Therefore, with regret, we must join with our rabbinic colleagues who have already terminated their relationship. speaking to Jewish news. So this is Jewish News of the UK, by the way. So this is not an unbiased source. They are an anti-Corbyn newspaper. But it says here, speaking to Jewish News, Rabbi David Mitchell said it was a sad moment for him, having been a member of Unite for more than 9 years. But he said McCluskey's comments were only the latest in the series of concerning remarks. Enough is enough, he said. I believe in the trade union movement. We have a long history of activism in it. But Len McCluskey can't represent me when he takes the line he does. I'm deeply concerned about his attack, and unfortunately, I just don't feel like Unite is a home for me anymore. Listen, you are so late to the party. You're so late right now. You're basically in your prom tux when everybody else is passed out from doing whippets and in their furry suits. That's how late to the party you guys are. Okay, because this is the way that the trade union movement, this is the way the left has been for decades and decades. They don't like you. They don't believe that Jews have a place within them. And you know what? You just blind yourself to it and you won't accept it. And my personal opinion is this. I watch sometimes, on a rare occasion recently, just because I don't have enough time, this guy on LBC radio named Majid Nawaz. And this is a person who is a liberal Democrat, and he says, he criticizes openly. He's a ex-Islamist, and he says, I left the hardcore jihadist or Muslim or Islamist movement. He calls us Islamist because he didn't believe in violent jihad. But he says, look, Labor Party does have a problem with this. So he supports the Liberal Democratic Party, which has a little more of a wiggle room for what you can believe in and what not. And I think he has a more courageous position than these people who they simply have refused for all these years to actually take action and leave the party and do something else with themselves because they want to have their goddamn finger in the pie. Look, the pie is causing you diabetes. The pie is basically putting you in a fucking food coma. So you should have left it years ago. You should have left the Labor Party years ago. Jews in the Democratic Party here in the U.S. should have disaffiliated decades ago and said we're non-partisan. I personally believe we should be nonpartisan. We should probably help America develop a more multi-party system. Just like any other citizen. By the way, black people, I give the same advice. Why would you commit to one political party? Because either one of them would betray you. The Republican Party is betraying conservative voters all the time. So why would you commit to a political party? Commit to these animals that run the political parties. These disgusting beasts of human beings, whether it's Chuck Schumer or Paul Ryan over here in the U.S. or in the UK, you have that incorrigible witch, Theresa May. And then, of course, you have Corbyn, who we've discussed enough tonight. And I think Jeremy Corbyn is a coward, and he's a liar, and he's an idiot, and he's basically, he lies all the time, both about this topic with the Jews and Israel and his support for Hamas. But those are actually, you can put that to the side for a second. Okay, just for a second. This is a person who's lied in the past about his association with the IRA, a group that's I mean, their main target has always been British citizens. So you've supported terrorist groups that have attacked your own constituents. And then you want to talk about everybody else being honest or not honest. Jeremy Corbyn is basically living in his own fantasy world. He's a delusional maniac. He should never be close to any position of power. And personally, it makes me, despondent thinking about the fact that the United Kingdom, Britain, the country that created our free society through their values, and we had to separate from them, but our values are derived from British liberal values. So the United Kingdom is going to possibly be under the control of this dumbass, Jeremy fucking Corbyn. There's a poll now that says 1 in 4 voters think that Jeremy Corbyn is an anti-Semite after clashes with the Jewish community, the poll reveals. Look, some people might say that that's a worrying statistic. I think it indicates that a lot of people still don't believe it. And people do not care. And this is not as much of an issue to other people as you might think. So, Joseph Cohen, I don't think he cares what I think. I don't think we'll ever be able to be on the same page. He did do a great job with covering this rally. Just speaking objectively. I hope when I produce something, whether it's an article, whether I'm writing an article or I'm putting a video together or whatever, that I'm consistent. I try to be fair, and if I'm not fair, I try to at least be consistent. So he did a good job with that video and both of the videos, and I think he should reveal more. But the real question is, what are you going to be doing? Shouldn't you be supporting something instead of just saying, "Oh, there's a problem with the Labour Party"? Maybe you should commit to supporting, at least for the time being, a different political party, and say, for the current cycle, we will support the Liberal Democrats, for argument's sake, okay? For the current cycle, we will support UKIP, the UK Independence Party, which, by the way, is smeared all the time for being anti-Semitic for no reason. For literally no reason. They're smeared all the time unjustly for that. When they're probably the most pro-freedom, they're for freedom of religion for more people than any other party. Okay, yeah, and you can support other political parties. You can support the Green Party. I don't think that they could, because the Green Party has a number of the same issues as the Labour Party that they're talking about. But for argument's sake, why don't you just do something about this? You're talking about this literally all the time, and then you don't propose any solution. Your only solution is that Jeremy Corbyn stepped down from the Labour Party. Well, that's not going to happen, buddy. He won 2 contests to lead the party. The majority Democratic vote governs the party. Just accept it. Just accept it. How about you just decide as a grown-up human being that you're going to do something for yourself? Leave the Labour Party. Tell the people that support your ideas, we're not going to be part of the Labour Party again, ever. What people should be free to vote for whoever they damn please. And that's it. So I'm going to look at the chat now, see if there was anything interesting. If I can find it. Freedom of the Bagel. Okay, so I think I was disconnected for a second. Sorry about that. Public unions are a sham used to bilk the taxpayer. Yes, I think Pinochet and me are the closest that I mean, we're probably pretty close on politics. I'm probably not as gung ho as he is, because obviously I don't have a screen name like Pinochet. Let's look at a couple of these weird posts by Ryu. He says, "I am making a new product, the dick hijab, for these cucks, and they're sorry." So that's funny. I think yeah, that is funny. What's the correlation between soy and cucks and micro dick disease? I bet that's pretty funny. Ryu was on like some sort of venting tear today. Hella neckbeard. I don't have a neckbeard. What are you talking about? No, I do. By the way, yeah, my beard grows in pretty fast. Keep denying the scientist stuff, and we also know about the weather modification. Tommy Robinson has earned our respect and support, period. Is a tall one a tranny? I don't know. Now it's out. Bold like a leopard likes the ginger Caleb Maupin. I think that's a bit of an embellishment. I said earlier in the stream that I have ginger friends. That would certainly be on the bottom of the list. I think Caleb Maupin, I would say, if we ever bring back the death penalty to all 50 states, I think he should be this is the type of person that I think I'd personally say we should just experiment on. Okay, that's not a threat. It's not a threat because it's not legal. And therefore, this is a pure-hearted hypothetical. I think Caleb Maupin is a piece of shit, and I'd support any sort of. I would support basically deporting him to Cuba because that's the most legal thing I think we could do. MC says the UK. MC, by the way, from the Mad Dodge Red Eye stream says the UK has a lot of problems concerning freedom of speech, which isn't guaranteed by law. Corbyn isn't an anti-Semite, but he pandered to the groups which are. Yeah, that's the same position I have. So that's it for tonight. I'll try to send this to Joseph Cohen. I don't think he gives a shit what I say. And look, he doesn't have to, but obviously what he's doing right now is not working. Do you support freedom of the bagel? Absolutely. I had a couple on Sunday. Absolutely. So have a great night. Please like the video, subscribe. Make sure that you get the notifications. So click the bell, and it appears as if nobody's getting them except possibly Larry. So Larry, please let me know if you're getting notifications. If not, then it's, I guess, a subscriber-wide issue. Also, comment on the video after it uploads and share the video. And have a good night and a happy Friday.